Welcome, 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 everybody, to day 66. I'm Michelle Simons, your gracious host. If you haven't met me yet, let's see a little bit about myself. I've been practicing Sahaja Yoga for a little over 8 years now. When I got my self-realization 8 years ago, I dove right in. I felt, I didn't feel vibrations, cool breeze, anything, but I felt like somewhere deep inside of me, this is the right thing for me. And I knew, I just felt like this is the truth. Everything I heard, everything I experienced just felt right. And I haven't stopped meditating since. So hopefully you have a similar experience, because it's a fantastic new life that I embarked on at 42 years old, 8 years ago. I'm now 50, you do the math. And it's been pretty awesome. So again, today is day 66, deepening the silence. If you're brand new or you've missed any classes, we have the recordings available for you on YouTube, us.sahajayoga.org, and you can find everything there. And after today's session, feel free to stay and follow along with us. And after today's session, we'll have some breakout rooms where that'll be available for people for one-on-one support, things like that. So our highlighted goal of the evening is sustaining longer silence. A lot of times folks are used to a lot of talking, a lot of guided meditation. So now we're going to actually kind of move to a new level of our meditation and just see how we do with sustaining longer silence. Sunday's topic was Mother Kundalini, and today's is patience. So that's going to be fun to talk about because I have lots of stories. So we're going to talk about patience. We're going to foot soak, have a guided meditation. We'll listen to a short excerpt from Shri Mataji's talk. We're going to have some awesome music from Kalyan. And then after the program, there'll be some small groups and breakouts if you'd like. So I'm going to introduce our first lead tonight is Christine Kirby, a good friend of mine. She lives only like a 40-minute drive without traffic from my home, and I'll let her say a little bit about herself.
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, nice to see you on Zoom. We see each other regularly in person, which is also really nice. I'm also in the Boston area, as you might have gathered from Michelle's introduction. And I have been practicing Sahaja Yoga for a number of years, let's say quite a few. How do I describe back? I actually started in the 80s and was fortunate enough to have some direct personal experiences and have the opportunity to be in the company of Shri Mataji and learn directly from her. So that was amazing and hard to describe. And also tonight's topic is one that's very near and dear to my heart. So I look forward to touching on that a little bit. But of course, as Michelle said, we're more focusing on really trying to achieve the silence. And with that, I'll pass it over to Kalyan, who's with us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Auntie. My name is Kalyan Gopalakrishnan. I live in the Hartford area, Hartford, Connecticut. I work in the IT field as a program director. And my passion is, of course, meditation and music. So I'm going to be playing an Indian rag as usual today on the violin for the meditation. It's called Rag Beam Palasi.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kalyan. So at this point, we're going to turn it over to Christine, and she's going to lead us in a little foot soak clearing meditation.
Yes, so hopefully everyone has their foot soak materials and equipment ready to go. If you don't happen to have your foot soak equipment ready right now, that's perfectly fine. You can just follow the meditation, without having the foot soak on hand. You can still follow through all the techniques and affirmations and so forth. I'll just mention a couple things about patience. As I said, it's something that's very important to me. It's something that I've felt that I really needed to develop, and I feel has actually developed with the help of Sahaja Yoga practice and the Sahaja Yoga knowledge. There's different kinds of patience. There's a type of patience that you have with other people, that you try to have with someone who's annoying you, or someone who's repeating themselves, whatever it may be, somebody who pushes your buttons, learning how to have patience with that. Patience with your circumstances. For me, it can be traffic or something like that, or things, in my case, not happening as fast as I would like them to happen in my environment, in my circumstance. And then, of course, the patience, the most important patience is the patience with your own spiritual growth. So this is quite important. And sometimes, because all of us who are here are seeking, and our spiritual growth is very important to us. And so in that desire and sincerity that we have, we may start to feel a little impatient with our progress. And I have to say, after having done this since the 1980s, that this is a process that can't be rushed. And just like the growth of a tree or a sapling that turning into a huge gigantic and shade-giving tree can't be rushed. It's a living process, and the same is true with our own growth. What might we become impatient with? Our own thoughts is the first thing. They're not our thoughts. That's the interesting thing. And I think neuroscience and scientific study is validating this idea more and more, that thoughts are automatic. They come at you from outside sources, from your past. They may be something from the future. They're not really ours. There's something, the water we swim in a little bit. So in a way, they are something external to us that we can have patience about. And as soon as we're observing them, anyway, as soon as we take that step of observing our thoughts and watching them, we're doing exactly what we need to do to increase that thoughtless awareness and improve that state of thoughtlessness and silence. The other patience that we can have is with our sensations of cool breeze in the hands or warm breeze in the hands. This is something that you've heard us talk about, of course, and it's not an unimportant aspect of our meditation, but it's also not something that we are necessarily in control of. I like to say it's not something we can conjure. Like if I just take the right steps, like following a recipe or something, then I'm going to feel vibrations. There's too many different factors that play into our ability to feel vibrations. So the more we sort of set back and, allow it to occur, possibly in a very unexpected way or at an unexpected moment, you might find that that is going to be the most successful way for you to experience vibrations. And again, once you experience them, you're watching, you're noticing, you're seeing what information is this giving me? Has this helped me kind of guide my steps a little bit, or guide, like, this is what I need and this is what I don't need. So the vibrations will give you that information. But if you have expectations about feeling vibrations, what you should be feeling, what you shouldn't be feeling, that kind of interferes with the process. So I'm, again, just talking from my own experience, absolutely. My own experience of first feeling vibrations was at the moment that I least expected it, because I had been sort of trying to feel vibrations for several weeks and months prior to actually having that first experience. And in that moment, I was not expecting it at all. It just kind of came on to me like, like a gift. And that's really what it is. So as this whole experience of self-realization is a gift, and our meditation is a gift. Again, meditation is not something that we do. It's a state that we are in. So with that, enough talk. Let's go ahead and start our meditation on our foot soak. I like to begin, before putting my feet in the water, I begin with raising the Kundalini energy, as we've been shown how to do. Wrapping the right hand around the left hand as you raise above your head, and then fix the Kundalini energy there with a symbolic knot. And we do that again, the second time. If you want to, you can tie 2 knots. And then the third time raising, above our heads, and tying 3 symbolic knots to fix the Kundalini energy at that point above our heads. And then we put the protection around ourselves by starting at the left hand or the left hip. With our right hand, we wrap these vibrations, this energy of awareness around ourselves about 7 times back and forth. That's 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then we can take the right hand and put it towards the foot soak water and give a circular movement like this towards the water, and inwardly ask that may this water become vibrated, become activated, and effective for cleansing my subtle system. And then let's go ahead and put our feet into the water. Let's take a deep breath once or twice to settle ourselves physically for our meditation. And opening our hands with the palms facing up on our lap. And without expectations, just noticing where we are, what we're feeling, how we're feeling inside. And let's take our right hand and drop it down and face it towards the Mother Earth. Qualities of the earth allows us to cleanse and balance the left side energy channel. So inwardly we can request that may this power of the Mother Earth and through the activity of the Kundalini energy, may this left side channel be cleansed and balanced. Or you can use whatever phrasing or words you want, whatever has meaning for you. To bring your desire or your intention onto this cleansing process. And then we can return the right hand onto the lap. And we'll take the left hand and point it towards the sky with the hand palm facing backwards. And allow the qualities of the air to cleanse and balance this right side channel. And again, using whatever words have meaning for you. You can ask that may this qualities, cooling quality of the air element and the nurturing aspect of the Kundalini calm and cleanse and balance this right side energy channel of action. And now we can put our left hand back down onto our lap. For myself, if I find that I'm feeling restless, either emotionally or physically or mentally, if I take my right hand and just put it on the center of the navel, the Navi chakra, that much of that restlessness can be calmed and dispelled. The center of Navi has the quality of peacefulness and contentment. And patience also. So we can put our right hand on that center for a few minutes. And allow ourselves to rest in that state of peaceful contentment. And then again, let's bring our Kundalini with our one hand. Let's raise our Kundalini up again, all the way, bringing our attention to the topmost chakra. You can do that 3 times. And when in doubt, always bringing your attention back to the limbic area of the brain or the space just above. And checking to see if we're feeling for the flow of energy above our heads in the form of a gentle breeze. We can also do the same with our left hand. So let's finish our foot soak and prepare ourselves to listen to the lecture of Shri Mataji, where she talks about patience in the context of visiting another country, in this case, in the context of visiting India, if I'm not mistaken. That's the setting for the talk. And there's lots that could be said about that, but let's go ahead and rinse our feet and just set your bucket aside. And just take a moment to do that. And while we listen to the talk of Shri Mataji, of course, try to keep the meditative state that we've initiated with our previous meditation.
The greatest law of Sahaja Yoga is that it is a collective happening. Now, as you have seen here, people are from abroad, people are from Delhi, people are from Calcutta, people from Bombay, people from villages, people from various places. The idea of all of you coming is to create the understanding of the collective. As people start becoming collective and collective, they do not bother others, they do not trouble others, but they give joy to others. They are not bothered about their going and coming, their eating and everything. They just don't behave like mundane, usual type of people. But they are very patient, saburi as they call it. They are in their patience. Now this patience is the most joy-giving thing. Patience gives you the greatest joy. When you are patient, you develop all your qualities. I think in patience you blossom the best. But patience is not be patient, be patient. Patience is also a kind of a state within us, with just this patience. Saburi as they call it. You just watch and see. Wherever you are, you are. Now some people are worried that they must get into the bus. Some people are worried they must reach back home. Some people are worried they must get their food in time. According to them, this is discipline. This is not. This is conditioning. But what is the discipline is of patience in Sahaja Yoga, where you watch everything and you are patient. If you are in the bus, you are there. If you are standing on the road, you are there. If you are walking on the road, you are there. On the contrary, it's a good idea to walk. I wish I could, but I can't, because once I start walking, everybody will fall at my feet. Nobody would spare me. So I'm just imprisoned inside a house, inside a room, all the day long, because I just can't come out. As soon as I come out, I find there are hosts of people standing outside. But your case is not such. You are free people. They are not bound like me. So it's nice to walk a little bit in the evening time. It's a good idea. It's a very good idea. Leisurely you can walk. That will digest your food. The food is rather heavy sometimes. It will make you feel better. And just know that you are walking, that's all. To feel that I have to walk, I have to go there. Once you start thinking, you get exhausted sitting here. Even if you have not walked. So it is important that patience should be made the discipline of life. How much patient we are for anything. For anything. Now as you can see, I have to sit here before I don't come, you cannot start. I have to sit here till you finish. You are all free, you can get up, walk about, come whenever you feel like. I am not. How do I manage all this? It's through my patience. But patience is my quality. Is my nature, which I enjoy the most of all. Now, if I am sitting here, if nobody is there, I am enjoying it. If I am lost somewhere, I enjoy it. If I lost my way, I enjoy it. Because I am there to enjoy myself. So I think we should make a practice now. The moon is out. Beautiful moonlit nights. Try to walk down. Especially the Delhi people must walk. They don't just walk. In Delhi it's all right because you cannot walk about, there's danger and all that. But here it's better. You better walk, your health will improve, Sahaja Yoga will improve, Kundalini will improve, you'll feel much better. That's a good part of this remote place, that nobody sees you, nobody is bothered about. You can live whatever way you like, you can walk the way you like, there's nobody to bother. There's no need to have a competition or run about. But just leisurely, if you walk, is a good idea. I'm not saying it just to save some money out of the buses, but it is just to make you feel more healthy. Just sitting all the time, one feels very funny. Sit here, sit there, go in a taxi, go in a bus, go in a lift. You just don't move your legs. There's no exercise also in Sahaja Yoga. Walking is the best exercise for all the Sahaja Yogis, as I told you. And that's why it is important that you all should try to walk a little bit, if possible. Of course, there are ladies who have children, this and that is all right, old ladies, old men. But even then, it's a good idea to walk half away and then you can go by buses. Something like that. Try to adjust yourself for these 3-4 days, you'll feel much better. I promise you, you'll feel much better when you walk. Now, the another thing which one has to learn apart from saburi, from the patience, one has to imbibe within oneself is the sweetness. If you are sweet, you are filled with humor, you do not hurt others, you are not hurt either, you see everything so beautiful and nice. That's the quality of Sri Krishna, Madhurya. Anything can be done with sweetness. That's very important. Now some people might say, Mother, sometimes you have to get angry and all that. There's no need for you. I can do that dirty job. You don't have to. You don't have to get angry with anyone. You just show your patience, your love, your kindness, your sweetness. That is how the personality of Sahaja Yoga, which is a collective being, is to be built. By people who have patience, who are sweet, outwardly, inwardly. And the third one is the genuineness. Without genuineness, we cannot enter into ourselves. Because our inner being knows what we are. If there's hypocrisy, if there's just showing off, or if there's a kind of a reservation within us, we cannot enter inside. And also the people who come in contact with such people cannot progress. So one has to be very genuine about it. And this is an individual quality, is not a samohic quality. It's not a collective quality. All of us have to be genuine within ourselves. Because it is for our gain, for our hita. So we have to be collective because it is good for us. We have to be patient because it is good for us. And we have to be genuine because it is good for us.
Let's continue to be in meditation, in silence for a couple of minutes.
Thank you so much, Kailan. That was beautiful. Words can express what the music does to us in these meditations, and takes us to that silent place that we've been just talking about all night. So for this next piece, we're gonna have a longer meditation and longer periods of silence. So as you can see, the theme has been modeled very well, from Christine's foot soak meditation to listening to Shri Mataji's talk, and then Kailan's silent meditation, and then the music. There's a talk that one of Shri Mataji's talks, and she probably says it in multiple talks, about the importance of silence. And my understanding of it is, when we're in silence, we can grow. And she gives an example about a lake. And if the weather is really stormy and the lake's always in turmoil, then nothing can really grow in it. But when, there's no wind and it's really flat and really calm, then like all the things can start growing. And I really believe that within ourselves is, if we're constantly go, 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 and we never really take the time to be silent, internally, it creates a lot of heat, stress, and all those kind of things. And for one, this mother Kundalini of ours can't properly rise, because we're always sort of forcing things to happen, and our body can't cool down enough to heal and grow. So there's a couple of things that just came to mind. When we're meditating in silence, there was a lot of talk about patience tonight, and we have to be patient with ourselves. And I'm not always the most patient human being. So one thing I've had to sort of teach myself, and it does take a level of discipline. There's kind of this concept that I have an understanding of, like, God moves mountains, we have to bring the shovel, right? So it's like we have to do our part, our little discipline part, and then leave the rest up to the universe, right? So if I'm really struggling in a silent meditation, I actually ask, I'll say, like, whoever you want to ask to, you can say Shri Mataji or Mother Kundalini. Like I say, please help me. I have this strong desire inside to feel the connection to the divine. I want to feel the cool breeze. I want to be in silence. Please help me. Show me what I need. And I always get the answers. It may not be in that moment, but it'll come within, that day or the next day or something like that. And I'll get like a nice little gem or something that I need to move forward. And the other thing about this piece is, when we're in that silence, we can watch ourselves. So how, like, if something jarring happens, all of a sudden we become really alert, like if, we stop short in our car or something like that. So if we realize we're kind of drifting off when we're sitting in meditation, sometimes I just snap my finger, just to clear out whatever's, if I'm spacing out or daydreaming or thinking about something, I just kind of snap my finger and just like bring my attention back and become alert again and silent. So we call it thoughtless awareness, because we're aware, we're alert, we're not like sleepy and whatever, but we're also thoughtless. And we can be thoughtless in day-to-day things. We can paint a fence and, be thoughtless and in that silence. So let's have another little meditation, another about 10-minute meditation. And there's going to be periods of longer silence. And at that point, when we start to, maybe we're really in it and it's great, but if we start to get a little antsy, remind ourselves we can snap, do a little something, and just start to witness what's happening within us, and ask for help. Ask for help inside. Please help me settle down. So let's just open our hands in our lap. and close our eyes. So we're just gonna watch our breathing for a moment. And every time we breathe in, let's let ourselves kind of go deeper and deeper inside of ourselves, bringing our attention inside. Let's feel the depth within ourselves, feel our own gravity, keeping us connected to the Mother Earth. That gravity is silent. The depth of the ocean is silent. There's a concept of the silent, we're in the silence of the cosmos. So just put ourselves as part and parcel of the whole and allow ourselves to be dissolved into the atmosphere, into what we call the Param Chaitanya, the divine vibrations. And we can ask Mother Kundalini, please make me absolutely silent. Please help me become absolutely silent inside. And let's just take the next few minutes to just witness ourselves. Where is my attention? We can take our right hand across our forehead for a moment and just forgive ourselves and everybody else. And we can ask Mother Kundalini to please pass through this Agya chakra of ours, pass through the mind, take us beyond the mind, beyond the thoughts. Give us that depth and raise our attention to our Sahasrara at the top of our head. Let's completely bring our attention to the connection of the palm of our hand and the top of our head. Let's have our attention on the palm of our hand and slowly let the right hand float above our heads. And let our attention rise. And now, just so everybody's aware of what's going to happen for the next 5 minutes, we're going to sit in absolute silence, starting now. So when everybody feels ready, we can slowly open up our eyes. And just sort of check in with ourselves, witness ourselves. Were we able to settle down any like chatter that might be in our minds or any antsiness in our body? I think the advice that Shri Mataji gave us about walking, I know for myself, a little bit of exercise and then sitting for meditation can be really helpful because it kind of gets the antsiness out if we feel a little restless. And another little trick we can do if we're starting to, our head starts to have some thoughts is just like Christine showed us, I think in the beginning, is just raising our Kundalini a couple of times like this. And when we start to feel the cool breeze above our heads, we can just put our attention here. And then that takes us, if our attention's here, we can't be here and here at the same time, right? So that ability to get our attention up above the mind or beyond the thoughts can keep us in that state. So let's conclude this part of our meditation by raising our Kundalini and putting ourselves in a bandhan. And we can bring both hands together at our chest if we'd like. I like to just bow my head, and it's just like a humble gesture, thanking Shri Mataji for all that she's done for Sahaja Yoga and to help us get to this, give us our self-realization and working so hard for us. So that concludes the formal part of our program tonight. A couple of announcements from the slides. So session 4, deepening the silence, Thursday, July 6th, that's over. Okay, so those were our last, Thursday, July 6th to Tuesday, August 22nd, and then Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday for 7 weeks. And then we will have the collective foot soak meditations 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 8:45. And those are a little less formal of a program, 30 minutes, one presenter, very simple foot soak, short meditation, and same Zoom link. So this Thursday, we'll begin meditating on the 4 petals of the Muladhara chakra, which is a very powerful meditation. I love doing that myself. It really helps you feel balanced and grounded, imbibing the qualities of innocence, harmony, and those are the essential qualities of the first petal. And day 67 tomorrow, innocence is never lost. Program resources, you can request a mentor. We have a WhatsApp group of a community of folks where there's some daily spiritual messages, and also you can join the live YouTube sessions. And look at that, we're so high tech. We got a QR code. There's your website. Go ahead and get on that us.sahajayoga.org and check out all the resources on there. So at this point, if you want to get into an interactive workshop in a breakout room, type in the chat, breakout room help, and you can meet with a Sahaja Yoga teacher in a breakout room. And those are great if you have a personal question or you'd like a review of what's been covered so far in our programs. And at this point, and if you look in the chat too, there's your links as well, if you missed that QR code. So at this point today, Christine, Kirby, and myself are going to share some experiences. We have a couple of questions that were proposed to us to answer for you guys, and we'll share a little bit about, what our experiences are with this concept of deepening the silence. So welcome back, Christine.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle.
And our first question, and I'll let you go first, and then I'll follow behind you, Christine. How do we understand patience in regards to situations in our lives and other people as Sahaja Yogis? And I know you answered some of that in the foot soak meditation, but maybe we can go a little further with it.
Sure. I mean, there's so many opportunities to employ patience in our lives, modern day society, because the pace of everything is so fast and things are coming at us from all directions. And so I think having access to that power of patience is so relevant, even more relevant probably than it has been at any other time in human history, to be dramatic about it. As I mentioned before, for me, having patience has a lot to do with relinquishing my sense of control, like always wanting to control my circumstances, have things be just right. And, I mentioned also being in traffic, and I just come from a background in my family where being punctual was the thing. I mean, that was next to godliness, not cleanliness, but punctuality was next to godliness. So I still have a lot of residue from that conditioning, and find myself, just pushing the envelope, I've just got to get there a little bit sooner. I've got to get there on time. And it's really it's a daily, I won't call it a struggle, but it's a daily challenge or project, I should say, to overcome that. And so, we all have something like that, probably, where we want to have, things the way we want to have them. And it kind of pushes our buttons, or, makes us uncomfortable if things aren't the way we would like them to be. And that, being patient with that, acceptance, and not reacting would be the other thing that I would say, is that, patience is basically not reacting. I think the two things pretty much go hand in hand. And I would like to mention just one interesting thing about the video that we listened to, because I think I mentioned that I'm pretty sure that video was from one of the visits, one of the tours that Shri Mataji used to give in India, back, mostly in the 80s, I think also in the 90s. My experience of them was in the 80s. And I mean, talk about not being in control of your circumstances, in the India tour was just a whole, I think that was one of the most valuable lessons about being on an India tour. We were being graciously hosted by the Indian yogis, but nothing was the way we're used to it, And when she referred to having meals on time and getting on the buses, that just brings it all back to me. We really had to foster a feeling of, okay, things are going to happen when they're going to happen. And it's not my lookout, and I'm not in control. And you have to be patient and accepting in that circumstance, or, you're going to implode or something's going to happen. So, yeah, I guess that's enough for me on that subject.
That's awesome. That just made me think of that quote, "The joy is in the journey."
Yes.
Right?
Yes, totally. Yeah, not the destination. Absolutely not the destination.
Yeah. So if we can kind of, remember that concept, I think patience can come in. And I'll full disclosure, I've never been a patient person. As a little kid to adulthood, I remember my dad saying "Shell, slow down, slow down." We're in Boston, so you get the side talk Boston thing. I'm not gonna say the full sentence, but slow down. I'd eat too fast. I even today, if somebody's like, "Do you want to go somewhere?" I'm like, "Yes," and I'm already out the door, right? Like, and my husband is very different. So like, there's definitely a reason why we're together too, because that balances me. And he doesn't practice Sahaja Yoga, and he's more patient than me many times. But it's a work in progress, and it's about being patient with myself. Like, I don't condemn myself, and that's really important. Allow myself to have, sometimes you have to hit a brick wall to really like learn the lesson. And I've hit many brick walls, um and they teach you a really good lesson. Like when I'm so impatient that I've gotten angry and I've had an outburst with somebody or something like that, like, and then you feel awful, right? When we do that. So sometimes it's taken me to go to that extreme and then be like, wow, I do not want to be like that. And then I really, kind of introspect and find out like what's underlying that. Why is that, why is that there, and how to sort of simmer that down. Nature always helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. One cool thing I'll say is like, I was setting up my little like set up tonight to have a nice background. And like I could have rushed around and like looked for fancy flowers at the store down the street and done this. And and I just said like, let me just, kind of roll with the flow or whatever. And when we got off our little I found this photo. I looked through a couple of photos and I was like, oh, that one's nice. And that one was the first one I opened up. And it's like you go with the flow and you're just given what you need. I went outside and like my little rose bush had bloomed, and my neighbor who has moved out, that I'm taking care of his hydrangea bush because nobody's taking care of it, so I've been watering it, has like this beautiful hydrangea. So I got to pick these two flowers. And once we started, I realized that it matches Shri Mataji's sari in this photo perfectly.
Yes, that's so awesome. I'm just noticing that. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, so when we don't plan and like we get impatient or frustrated because sometimes we plan, right? And it doesn't work out what we think is supposed to be. And if we're really spontaneous, which is another definition of Sahaja, is spontaneous, like everything just gets taken care of, and it's really cool. And then like little miracles like that happen. Just it's simple, but it's fun, and it reminds us that like there's something else taking care of business out there, and it doesn't have to be me.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So, all right, Christine, here we go. Next question. I feel like we're on a quiz show. All right. How do you relate to patients with respect to your individual practice of Sahaja Yoga? And give some examples if you have.
Oh boy, there's so many examples. I think for me, it's kind of like what I was mentioning before about learning how not to have expectations and not getting discouraged. I mean, my early like formative experiences of Sahaja Yoga were pretty, I had some pretty what we call momentous or very, very tangible experiences early on, in the context of being with Shri Mataji or being with a group of other Sahaja Yogis, people practicing the meditation. I was quite new. I was quite a novice, and I was completely clueless about the whole thing. I mean, there's some advantages to being clueless also, I think. And then when I kind of got back on my own and I started practicing the meditation, I'm going, wait a minute, where did it all go? And I started because I'd had, and this is not unusual, I think, for people to have quite a strong experience to kick the process off. And then having to kind of, the honeymoon is over sort of thing, and kind of getting down to the real growth process, the growth part of it. So I needed to come to terms with that and say, oh, okay, this is a long-term proposition. It's not an overnight, success, or whatever you want to call it. It's I mean, even measuring it in terms of success and failures ended up being a big mistake. And again, for me, being a very goal-oriented person and thinking, well, oh, I did this and I did that, and why am I not feeling why am I not whatever? And for me, feeling the vibrations was really important, because I think, as I mentioned before, I had that experience of trying, and then like I really got it as a gift, and it just felt so nice, and it was just so affirming to me to have that. But that's not the purpose of feeling vibrations, to affirm our little idea of, you know, we're good girls, or, you know, good girls and boys or whatever. So you know, again, this is just my own personal journey that I really had to get over that feeling of associating it with a sort of black and white, you know, a dualistic, like, okay, this is the right and this is wrong. I mean, it's not that we're not using the information that we get on our physical body and through this vibratory awareness. That's a huge benefit, to be able to use our vibrations in that way. But it's also kind of mysterious. So I think a lot of it takes place the way you described, Michelle, where it's just things just happen for you. You know, it's not only that we have the vibrations giving us information about, you know, wow, the Kundalini is really flowing smoothly right now. I'm getting vibrations. Or, you know, the Kundalini is over here working on my left heart chakra today. That's great. You know, I may not be feeling cool vibrations, but this is important. Kundalini is doing this work for me, and that's progress. And that's what has to happen right now. And, you know, I may feel that on my left pinky finger. Okay, that's what's happening right now. Let me see how I can help that. You know, just to accept that as a gift, just as much as the feeling and sort of blissed out feeling that we get when we really landed in that spot, is also a gift. So we take it as a gift. And as you said, Michelle, also, you know, to putting in our request, you know, for what we think we need, or what we would like, or what our desire is, will take us in the right direction. And you know, we're all sincere about what we're doing. So we're going to use whatever tools we're given. We're going to use whatever information we're given. We're going to do the best we can. And having that trust in ourselves, and I think is also part of the patience. So it's about the size of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The trusting ourselves, right? Like that, what I'm doing is enough, you know, and then I think you described it, but it's not a linear experience. It's not like you start Sahaja Yoga here and then you just like shoot to the moon. It's like it's like this,
Right.
you know, and like we can have, you know, I can look back a few years back and I felt like I was way up here, like doing great things. And then now I'm like, you know, looking at myself now and I'm like, why does it feel like I've, you know, gone down here? And really, like, sometimes it's like somebody explained to me, it's like a deeper cleansing too. You know, we get that honeymoon period sometimes in the beginning, like you said, and it's like, it keeps us here, you know, so whatever happens is happening for a reason. And, you know, we may not know it at the time. And I also got a message from Bina too, that just says, how do you stay in the world and maintain balance, to be in silence? And it's hard. We're not in a world that like is balanced, right? Where, you know, there's a lot of forces working against that. And, you know, for me, to maintain that balance as much as possible. And, you know, I meditate in the morning, I foot soak at night, and I meditate at night. And I try and be collective, because I know that just like online or in person, like meditating together, somebody described to me early on, the person that gave me my realization was that like all our Kundalinis together are like a big magnet or a big force, and can bring us up a lot quicker than sometimes we can do with our individual meditations. But it's really, really important not to condemn ourselves. We are a reflection of the divine. And so when we condemn ourselves, we're talking bad about the divine, right? So like that, and I think Christine said it really early on, the thoughts aren't ours. All the flaws, all the things that we struggle with, they're not ours. We are the spirit. We are this pure, you know, thing that sometimes gets covered up with clouds, just like on a cloudy day. We know the sun still exists. The sun isn't bad because it's behind the clouds. Maybe it's doing some underlying work and the next day it's going to shine brighter, right? So we can think of ourselves kind of in that respect and not get frustrated with ourselves.
And what Nina said also brought up something, and also in my attention, that to remember that we're not just working out for ourselves. We're in the world, we have a purpose, actually. It's how do you maintain your balance in your current living, the modern situation, is part of the evolutionary process. Unless if you think of evolution, how it takes place, just based on the scientific study, that there needs to be a bit of a crisis, right? That's what propels evolution. And we're sort of in a crisis state right now, and it's propelling our evolution, and things are moving very fast. But we're not just evolving as individuals, we're evolving as a species. So for those of us, that just the way Michelle was describing, that we get strength from collectively working together. So we're working together, we're also working on behalf of one another, and we may be working on behalf of our coworkers or our sister, or the guy down the street, who cuts our lawn or something like that. So that's another reason why the patience and the trust of yourself is really, really important. It's not just for ourselves. And if the sincerity is there, and the basic practice that Michelle described is there, you will be supported. You will absolutely be supported by this divine energy, and you absolutely will, be looked after.
Yeah, for sure. All right, question number 3. How to get into thoughtlessness, or what are some ways that help you get to thoughtless awareness?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I was pondering this, actually, when we were doing the silent meditation with Michelle. And there's some interesting little, like, we wouldn't call them tricks, but little methods that I found helpful for me just in the last few months. Of course, the photograph of Shri Mataji has the capability to propel you into thoughtless awareness. And it's just one reason why we're always providing a photograph of Shri Mataji as part of these sessions. It's just the nature of her work and the nature of her ability to trigger this awakening actually extends to her image, to this representation of her, which is an objective representation. So I would say never underestimate the value of that. Having said that, photographs can also cause us sometimes to react, and we go back into like, oh, we're judging their appearance, or this is unfamiliar to me, or something like that. So when that happens, some of the other things that I will use to help me is I'll put my attention on something really simple, like the candle flame. So something elemental. And normally I have a candle set up where I meditate, and we could call my altar. There's a photograph of Shri Mataji. There's almost always a candle. So I put my attention on the candle flame. Another thing I'll put my attention on is the flowers. It's like something in nature. I have this little swan here, which I like to show off, which just pleases me so much, And when I look at this, it's just such a simple shape, and there's something so elegant. It helps me go thoughtless, if I'm out in nature and I'm taking a walk and I just see like some wildflowers or something like that. So the point of that is to say that there are moments throughout your day where you can touch this thoughtless awareness state, and that to really notice those moments, you can really take advantage of them. Like the other day, I was sitting outside and working, and this little green bug landed on my arm with iridescent wings, a small little guy. And I'm like, hi, what are you doing? And it was just this moment of like, it just took me out of my brain and my work and stuff like that. And I just had this moment of communion, you could say, with this little something from nature, or it could be maybe, we've had some really amazing, pretty intense weather happening recently with this, like a high wind comes up and just starts blowing the trees, and all of a sudden you're just part of this wind. So, or Or you interact with a child. That's another way, or a puppy, you know. I would say the children are even the best. But so there are these moments that are placed for us throughout the day where we can touch that thoughtlessness. And even if it's just for 5 seconds, for 10 seconds, that's incredibly significant. And I do remember Shri Mataji, in fact, saying that herself in one of the talks, that it may just be for a minute that you're in thoughtless awareness, but that's huge. That's significant. So you build on that and, you know, kind of put your foot on that and let that propel you and say, yes, that state exists. If you know it exists, you know you can get back there. So those are some of my little, you know, little methods that are not very dramatic, or, you know, I don't know, are not, you know, just very simple things that bring pleasure to the heart and helps you go beyond your thoughts. How about you, Michelle?
Yeah, for sure. Couple of little trick. Well, I have like a couple of excerpts on YouTube, sort of saved in playlists that are like meditations with Shri Mataji. So they're like I have one that's 15 minutes long, and it's literally like how to get into thoughtless awareness, and Shri Mataji's guiding it. And you know, she does a few mantras, and has the, you know, the yogis that are sitting with her repeat them. And for me, that one really takes me there. If it's a hard, you know, if I'm having a hard time getting into thoughtlessness. And the other one is, I think you guys probably have already learned this lesson, but the liver, if my liver's hot, and, you know, that can help, you know, like, or can impede our meditations or make us feel antsy or have a lot of thoughts. So I almost always have a handy ice pack with me when I sit.
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning, and I'm a right-sided person. I am a hot liver person. You know, I shouldn't identify with that, but like, you know, those are some of my challenges. I'll say that, you know, I typically will go to the right side. That's, you know, when off balance. So I tie an ice pack on as soon as I wake up in the morning, and it always feels good, and it always kind of settles me down.
That's something that can be really, we can really forget about. That is such a simple thing. It can really have a dramatic difference if the thoughts are just, you know, just chugging away and we just can't seem to get relief from that. Just cools everything right down. And I've also heard that it can be a useful thing to help you go to sleep.
Yep.
Is that, you probably did this, Michelle, and then in the health center in Vashi, that they take a bottle of water and you put it in the freezer, so the whole bottle is frozen, and then you go to bed with that and put it by, you know, on your right side. So it's basically, it's pretty much frozen all night long. So again, maybe that's just for extreme cases, if you like, and we'll leave that to you to decide whether all of you out there in TV land are, whether you're an extreme case or not. But if you're having trouble with sleeping, it's worth a try. So yeah, it can really help with that as well.
And yeah, Bean is requesting the 15-minute talk. Yeah, I'll send that along, Bean, no worries. And last question, why is sitting in silent meditation important to you? I'll give that to you, Christine, and then I'll send Bina the.
Well, I can't think of a better answer than what you described earlier, Michelle, about how that's when the growth takes place. Again, I can't make myself go thoughtless. I also see that as a bit of a gift. I can try to, what I feel like I'm able to do for myself in my meditation is try to, you know, create a bit of an atmosphere that's conducive to meditation. I think we all have whatever works for us. And, you know, why is that important is because I start to realize who and what I really am. I mean, this notion of that I am not my thoughts and that I am not even this body. I mean, Shri Mataji is one of the first things she tells us. And it really takes a while for us to believe that. And again, it's a state that you go in and out of. I think that recognizing again that meditation is a state. It's not something we're doing, and that you go into it and you can come out of it. But when you're not in that state, you can't force it, but you know that it's there, and you know that you've been there. And so hopefully you can allow yourself, by circumstances and by taking, a few steps, which are self-healing, self-care steps, essentially, to help yourself reach that state. And then when you're in that state, it becomes so obvious at that point. For me, it becomes so obvious that that thought has really nothing to do with me. I am not my thoughts. This body, it's just an instrument. Being a musician, I think of it as instruments of the orchestra, honestly. Some of us are bassoons, some of us are violins, some of us are flutes or piccolos. We have been given an instrument, and that's what we're working with. And the instrument may be right-sided, the instrument may be left-sided. That's not what I am. That's what my instrument is. And I'm going to I'm going to look after my instrument. I'm going to polish it. I'm going to clean out I'm going to rosin the strings. I'm going to do whatever I need to try to keep the instrument so that it can play the music that it's destined to play. So, I don't want to take that analogy too far, but it makes sense to me. And then I start to see myself as, the spirit. That in that state of silence is when you can really let the spirit shine and really identify with that. So that's why that silence is important to me.
Yeah, all of the above and more. It's I'll say, like, when you get there, and if like, I think you said it, Christine, like, even if you experience like a millisecond of it, it's such a relief. Like, it's like, just, I just did this Sahaja Yoga seminar all of last week, and there were a few meditations that I really got to that state for the first time in a long time. Like, I feel like I didn't even know my state wasn't that good. And then when I got to this, through some of the guided meditations, and once like a group of us were together for a few days, we really, had this like strength. And the couple of the morning meditations, I remember not wanting to get up. And usually I'm the type, like, okay, it's, morning meditation, now it's coffee time, let's go, like, I'm like, up and out. But I really didn't want to move. And I was really like, and I've heard Shri Mataji say that, like, when you get to that state, you enjoy it. It's not like you're forcing yourself to, be disciplined. Like, and I really was like getting so much relief from it. And that's when I really feel it's like the lake is silent and things are growing. Like, the vibrations were there. I could feel, I just felt the vibrations just flowing really freely, and I just felt so good. And can I get to that state in my home working? I don't know. I hope so. I do when I stand in the ocean.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's why we have these opportunities for these special events that we have, because we know that we need, in just our daily day-to-day life, we can't necessarily achieve that. We have to kind of go above and beyond every so often, just like, again, to use the instrument and the musician analogy, for a period of time, you have to be in conservatory. And conservatory, you're practicing 4 to 6 hours a day, and you're really not thinking or doing much else, And I think in our spiritual lives, why shouldn't we have to devote, periods of time with that intensity to something as important and significant as our spiritual lives? And that's why we have these, weekend seminars. Those of you who aren't aware, I'm sure we probably mentioned some of these before, but in Sahaja Yoga, we set up weekend seminars. We set up a week-long, like this, which was, I think, a wellness seminar that Michelle went to. And those things, as you go along in your journey, Sahaja Yoga journey, these things will become available to you as options where you can really take a bit of a leap in those situations. And it's at least a leap in your recognition of yourself, your recognition of what's possible. Again, when you settle back down to day-to-day life, Are you going to maintain that? Maybe not 100%, but you will to a certain extent, you know. And I can remember that from these India tours that I mentioned earlier, that, you know, when I came back from the India tour, and it's been 3 weeks or a month that you've been in this immersive situation. And I could see that I was different because I was relating to my day-to-day life differently. And then, yes, maybe some of that tapers off and I kind of get back into old habits a bit. And then you put yourself in that situation again, and you try to take yourself another, you give yourself another lift along this process. So, and I mean, the most important thing is that it's just so much fun. It's so joy-giving. It's so nourishing to take advantage of those opportunities. Just like these sessions that we're having, these 21-day sessions are so nourishing for us and for everyone who's involved in them, I hope also.
Absolutely. Wonderfully said. And I think on that note, we are coming to the end of our questions. So hopefully, you know, people got the answers or maybe heard a little piece of advice or a gem that's going to help you kind of work towards whatever, you know, get to that state if you haven't been getting to that state, and just be patient with yourself and allow it to happen, because we can't muscle it. Christine's daughter and I, Purnima, are very close friends too, and she's like, you can't muscle this stuff, and she's always telling me that, because that's, both of us probably struggle with that. So but she's been meditating a lot longer than me and knows that. So
yeah, that's so true. Yeah,
that's
a great way to express it. Yeah.
So so thanks for joining, everybody. It's been nice to be back on here. It's fun to be on here with Christine. We could probably chat it up till midnight, but you know, my bed is calling.
We've got to stop somewhere, but
Stop somewhere. Yeah. So if you come to Boston, we'll take care of you.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So everybody have a great night, and we'll see you soon.